Novak Djokovic is yet again in the middle of another controversy. This time, it seems that his name has been left off the Stefan Edberg Sportsmanship Award nomination. Many famous tennis players have weighed in on this decision, and not all of them are siding with Djokovic. In today's video, we'll be talking about why Rennae Stubbs thinks that siding with the Serb's exclusion is the right thing. So, let's get started. First up, here's what you need to know. Djokovic seems to be collecting controversies as if they are limited edition collectibles. Recent news revealed that the Serbian player's name was not among the 11 nominations for this year's Stefan Edberg Sportsmanship Award. Now, many fans have taken this as an offensive move and claim that the tour, along with different media personalities, is all a part of propaganda against Novak. So basically, everything's extremely chaotic right now in the world of tennis. Some players and tennis broadcasters have even come forward to speak in favor of Djokovic. And while many had good things to say about the player, some think the decision was just right and ATP should stick with it. Yeah, that's right. Rennae Stubbs thinks that ATP made the right choice by excluding Djokovic from the nominations, since his behavior on the court is very questionable. What's interesting about this is that Djokovic is perhaps the best player in the sport and the only one from the big three that's really feeling it. You see, Roger Federer retired some months back, and Rafael Nadal is currently trying to get over his injury. So excluding the greatest doesn't really seem like a good choice. But hey, let's hear out what they have to say. Following up, why should Djokovic not be nominated? Alright, so if you think that Stubbs thinks he should be left out due to some weird grudge she holds against the player, then you're wrong. In fact, she made it very clear that it's not at all personal. Rather, she doesn't think he's a good sport on the court. As a justification, the Aussie tennis player went on to list a bunch of things that the Serb has done that didn't work in his favor. For example, the man's defaulted, broken many rackets during his time on courts, and let's not even mention the vaccine fiasco or the recent energy drink chaos. So it's just the fact that the player displays extremely unsportsmanlike behavior. And apparently, since this award is for sportsmanship on and off the court, Stubbs thinks that the Serb is anything but that. Still, it's important to note that she appreciates the fact that he's a gracious loser. At least after losing, he isn't prone to throwing tantrums on the court like some players we know. Apart from this, Stubbs was pretty adamant that this move wasn't a part of any mass media movement against Novak. Moving on, let's see what the Serbs' fans had to say about it. As one would expect, fans didn't take Stubbs' remarks lightly. According to them, it seems they weren't brimming with positivity as the Aussie player had hoped. In fact, they gave examples of Djokovic's behavior that would go completely against Stubbs' idea of him. They asked if coming to the aid of a fallen opponent, accepting his defeat graciously at the hands of Auger-Aliassime, and standing up for underprivileged players would count as unsportsmanlike behavior. Well, if you put it that way, we think the scales are tipped heavily in Djokovic's favor. Next up, Stubbs came back with a retort. For some reason, the Australian player thought that there was no other way to spend her time rather than telling a bunch of angry fans why Novak wasn't good enough for the award. Oh well, that's on her. After reading all the replies made by fans, the player didn't decide to stand down. Instead, thought that it would be fun to hit them again with one last reply. She said that while it was really good that Djokovic does all the good things, it wasn't anything special since other players do it as well. So instead of that, it's important to focus on his outbursts on the court and how they can be borderline ridiculous. She quoted a few examples in her tweet where she mentioned the French Open, the time when we witnessed Djokovic smash a net. She even talked about that one incident in Serbia where Novak almost hit a ball kid with his racket after throwing it away. But in the end, she seems to realize the fact that she won't be able to get her point across to the stands since they saw gold toilets with their heroes. Well, we're not exactly sure what that's supposed to mean, but hey, if this means she won't be spending more time on Twitter trying to defend ATP's choice against Djokovic's fans, then yay for her. Lastly, has Djokovic ever won the Stefan Edberg Sportsmanship Award? Djokovic is a pretty well-known guy in the world of tennis, and his popularity doesn't only stem from his many controversies. No, in fact, he's actually a really good player. So, as expected, the man's been given several accolades and awards in his illustrious career. but one of them continues to be missing from his shelf. He has yet to win the Stefan Edberg Sportsmanship Award, and while the rest of the big three share a total of 18 of these awards, Novak doesn't have a single one to his name. The ATP players collectively decide who would be given this honor, and the nominees of this year include big names such as Nadal, Matteo Berrettini, Francis Tiafoe, Carlos Alcaraz, and Lorenzo Mazzetti, amongst others. While we get what Stubbs was talking about, it's sorta sad to see that Novak has never received this award, despite his amazing career. Well, that's all we have for Djokovic's tragic tale with the Stefan Edberg Award. Now, let's head on to his surprise appearance at the Davis Cup. Starting with Novak's visit to the Davis Cup Finals. The Serb's offseason started not so long ago, and well, it seems like he's taking his time off to size up some of his younger competition. Does this man ever take a break? The crowd and players at the Davis Cup Finals were surprised to see that this year's ATP Finals champion, Djokovic, was present in the crowd, with his brother Marco and son Stefan. The small family witnessed history in the making though, so we'll say they chose a pretty good day to show up. Yeah, that's right, the final saw Canada beat Australia and grab their first ever Davis Cup victory. And well, this must have been a good opportunity for the Serb, since he got to look at some of his younger competitors, such as Felix Auger-Aliassime and Denis Shapovalov. We're sure that when the younger players got to know that the world's number 5 player and one of the big three was in the crowd, we're sure they amped up their performance even more. And last, but certainly not least, here are some more updates on Djokovic at the Davis Cup. The 21-time Grand Slam champ wasn't a part of this year's Davis Cup, since he didn't make it past the qualifier stage in September. And well, this might fan some flames, but that was very mature of him. He definitely did not throw a tantrum on the court. What's more is that even though he wasn't a part of the squad, he still showed up to watch the game. Now, we don't know of many players who would be willing to do that. The final between Canada and Australia was already tense, but with Novak in the crowd, it was definitely lit as well. And here's something interesting. The Serb was also spotted talking to the former player and tournament director David Ferrer. Well, we can easily say that the man takes his career very seriously. He was just 7 days into his break after ending his season on a high note and grabbing his 6th ATP Finals crown. And we're sure that he was more than happy that he decided to attend the event, since, as we mentioned earlier, he was able to see his rivals in action, with Auger-Aliassime besting his opponent Alex de Minaur with 6-3 and 6-4. It must have been a good opportunity for Novak to size him up. Besides, Auger-Aliassime just so happens to be one of the few men who managed to beat Novak this season. If you caught their match at the Laver Cup, then you probably know what we're talking about. So there's a huge possibility that Djokovic was there to see what was going on with the player and what his weak spots were. That's a wrap for this video, folks. Should Novak Djokovic be nominated for the Sportsmanship Award? Is there one in his future? And will he be able to best Auger-Aliassime? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see ya in the next one.